WCLN 1170 Radio and Star Communications Channel 16 proudly present the We Should Know Show, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative. Celebrating 15 years of bringing you the We Should Know Show, here's your host, J.W. Simmons.
Ladies and gentlemen, We Should Know is on the air. My name is J.W. Simmons. I'm your host. Our guest today is Dean Garey Fox from North Carolina State University. Dean, thank you for being with us today. And I want to kind of just open a little bit and tell folks you got your bachelor's and a master's degree in agriculture engineering in Texas. You got a doctorate in civil engineering from Colorado State University. You've been with North Carolina State now since 2017. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's interesting with your background and where you come and where you are,
Right.
the things you contribute to this system. And when I look at the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, when you saw that when you first came here, I want to start back a little bit.
Sure.
When you walked in and this idea of North Carolina State University,
Right.
it's 2016 or 2017,
Right.
it started showing up on your radar, if you will, or you saw it in your windshield. What did you have something in mind, or were you looking for a different landscape? Help us understand Garey Fox from that perspective.
Yeah, I'd actually, interestingly enough, interviewed at NC State for my PhD program. And probably the hardest decision of my life was turning down Dr. Wayne Skaggs to come work with him, National Academy of Engineer member.
Yeah.
I ended up going to Colorado State for my PhD, but it was NC State was impressive at that time. It was a place that, you know, from my discipline and my field that you wanted to be. When I had the opportunity to come to NC State as a department head, the opportunity to work with the previous dean of the college and just to see where the university was headed, a focus on interdisciplinarity. You could feel, and I tell people this all the time, the difference between maybe some of my previous institutions and NC State is there's just the feeling that NC State is going to do great things, and it's a great system and a great structure. College of Ag and Life Sciences is at the forefront of what we're doing in agriculture in the state of North Carolina, and that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be at a place where I knew that we were going to be able to make an impact. I grew up in Texas on a farm. I grew up in a rural community, first-gen college student. Didn't really know what it meant to go to college or to do anything like that, and had the wonderful opportunity of working with great faculty that got me embedded into the university experience, and really the opportunity to give back to that rural community and to give back to agriculture was something that I was looking for, and NC State provided that wonderful opportunity for me.
When I was reading over your bio, it struck me, one of the things that's kind of strange, it just hit me, that it's like this whole thing with ag is part of your DNA. It's part of something that gives you passion and purpose.
It is. You know, I grew up on a farm, had three brothers. My three brothers had no interest in going to college. They wanted to stay on the farm, and they're still really, in many cases, working still in agriculture today. But it was really, for me, it was at the heart of what we did. We grew up working on the farm. We grew up in FFA doing FFA activities, and got involved in high school. We grew up on a beef cattle farm in a dairy community. And I remember my FFA teacher, when I walked in as a freshman, said, "Hey, Fox, you're going to judge dairy cattle." And I said, "Mr. Rowland, I grew up on a beef cattle farm. I don't know about." He said, "Don't worry about it. Here's the book, and here's the rubric you need to use." And the next thing I know is I'm traveling across the state of Texas, you know, judging dairy cows on the floor of the Houston Astrodome, right? And so it was.
And that's a big deal in Texas.
And it's a big deal in Texas, right? The eighth wonder of the world, right?
Yes,
The Houston Astrodome was what we call it. But it was just one of those things where agriculture has always been at the heart of what I've done. And again, it's an opportunity that I really felt like, you know, I'm coming from a very unique situation. First generation college students to be a professor, a department head, a dean, that's rare, right? And my whole goal and really my priority as a dean is to continue to open doors for students from our rural communities and students from our ag communities to find their path similar to my path.
Well, you've had a few years to settle in at North Carolina State University and North Carolina. After you've had time and kind of tried on this whole state and the university itself, and your family as well.
Right.
Do you think the fit is good? Is this something you feel good about? And does your family feel good? Because I know you're a father and grandfather and everything else.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The first and foremost, for me, it's anywhere we go is going to be about family.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the first consideration that we have anytime that we were going to make a move is it the right place for a family? I'm not only the dean, we have 2 kids now at NC State.
Yeah.
And so our 2 oldest kids are at NC State. They love it here. We're very happy that they chose to come to NC State, but yeah, I commonly tell people it's an honor to be the dean, that I get to go see the impact that the entire college is making. And there aren't many people that get to see that. A lot of our faculty might be doing specific research project. We've got an extension agent that's working on this specific thing, but to see all the cumulative impact of that, right? I mean, you think about our research programs. We're constantly $120 million in new grants and contracts every year, right? At least over $100 million in new grants and contracts. That's a top 3 or 4 land grant institution in the country. We have the second largest extension network in the United States, right? Only state that's probably larger than us is Texas, right? And we still have an extension presence in every single county in the state of North Carolina. Our academic programs, we are at a record amount in terms of our enrollment in our academic programs. So just surpassed 4,400 students at NC State. At a time when engineering is trying to grow, we see the demand for agriculture and we're opening up new pathways. We've got a new program called Wolfpack Connect we can talk about maybe in a little bit.
Sure, absolutely.
But it's fantastic. You see all 3 missions. And in agriculture in North Carolina, there's no doubt that that's at the heart of what NC State was built as. And what I'm really excited about is the leadership of our new chancellor, Kevin Howe, who really understands that and really understands that agriculture is so important to this state and is very, very important to our land grant mission.
Well, listen, I want to touch on something you mentioned that I've seen you at several events and I know that you are not only attracted to, but I can see your passion increase when you see it, and that's FFA.
Absolutely.
The Future Farmers of America.
That's
and
right.
When you're at these local events, it just comes out.
Right.
And in fact, I was talking to your wife. I'm gonna bring your family into it, and she said yes. She said that's where he's going. He's headed that way.
Right.
So if there's a group there, tell us why that is so much a panacea for you. So much something that you feel so strong about.
Yeah, I think it's FFA and it's 4-H, right? I think it's both of those, right? And with our extension service, our cooperative extension service, of course, 4-H is the premier youth development program in the country. But for me, to me, it's giving back to the other people that gave back to me, right? I mean, I honestly don't think that I have a path to where I am today if you don't go back and you think about, your mentors and the people that pushed you, and your FFA advisors telling you you need to go to college, right? There's bigger things for you, right? Than staying here and working on the farm and things like that. There are bigger things. You should really think about doing this and opening doors to opportunities. You had no idea that those opportunities existed, right? And especially as somebody that didn't come from a family that had graduated from college. No grandparents, no aunts, uncles, no cousins had graduated from college. I was really true first generation. And for me, it's that idea that, here's a young kid from a town of 600 people in North Central Texas that all of a sudden is being given scholarships and opportunities, many of those through FFA, to go and attend Texas A&M University, right? One of the premier institutions in the country, and people are investing in you. And to me, it's part of my culture and it's part of me wanting to give back to that. I think the other thing is I come from really, my mom is an educator at heart, right? I have never met a young person that didn't love my mom. And to this day, she is retired from the school system and she's back substitute teaching to this day.
Yeah.
Because that's what she's passionate about. She's passionate about working with young people. And to me, that's our future generation. And if I can set up NC State, if I can set up the North Carolina, if I can set up any state to be successful moving forward in agriculture, it's making sure that we've got young people moving into agriculture and interested in agriculture.
Wow. And I'm sitting here listening to your commentary, and I'm thinking of the parallels, because we have so many people, including myself,
That's right.
that felt that need to step out, to see something else, to look at it from a different perspective.
That's right.
But we're glad to have you here in North Carolina and your family as well. I want to start with something that you're very familiar with, and that's the strategic plan in North Carolina.
Absolutely.
And recently I had, we got just a minute or so here to start this conversation.
Yes.
But recently I had Nelson Powell on, who was part of helping put that plan together. It was so well, in my opinion, laid out and strategically put together that the appropriate name, strategic plan, was the perfect name.
Right.
But part of that was the introduction and understanding piece. And part of it was obviously the economic piece.
Right.
All of that builds into one thing.
That's right.
Let's start this conversation. I'm going to start there, and we can take a break in just a minute or so. But I want to kind of start a conversation about that. How have you seen this strategic plan impact folks in North Carolina, people in the legislature, people that are in decision-making positions? How has it impacted them? Has it made a difference? Because I don't want it to be, and you don't either, I don't want somebody to take this plan and lay it on the shelf and that's just another plan.
Exactly.
This is, to me, was an action plan, and it was asking folks to step up, be heard, and be part of it. So let's start that. I'll give you about 45 seconds here. Start that, then we're going to come back later.
Where I went was exactly your comment. We don't, and I'm a big believer, you don't write a strategic plan for it to sit on the shelf and collect dust. Right? We have a strategic plan in our college. We have a strategic plan at NC State, where we are assessing how well are we doing on each of those. The strategic plan for us was another opportunity for us to have information about what's working really well at NC State, where there's some opportunities to get better. And that's been really the mantra of my time as dean, is that we are going to disrupt for good. We're going to find a way to get better every single day. And that strategic plan is an opportunity for us to do that.
And the beauty is folks can go online and pull this plan up and look at it. And the intriguing thing for me is when I did that, I couldn't stop looking at it. I had to go through it because I was intrigued by the way it was laid out. We're going to take a break and we'll be back in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're talking with Dean Garey Fox, North Carolina State University, about, agriculture, about, our future. We'll be back in a moment.
Welcome to Cork and Brew Roseboro, where you can enjoy your favorite coffee, fraps, smoothies, bakery items, sandwiches, and select beer and wines while reconnecting with friends and family. Sit down and enjoy the experience. Come on by and give us a try.
Independence is priceless, but peace of mind makes it possible. With Star Alert, your loved ones stay connected and protected 24/7. With just the simple press of a button, their information and location are sent to emergency operators. Star Alert gives you or your loved one immediate access to emergency help at home or on the go. Call 800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to get started.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. J.W. Simmons here, your host. The name of the show is We Should Know. Our guest today is Dean Garey Fox, North Carolina State University. Dean Fox, thank you again for being with us. We've got so much stuff to cover. We were talking about the strategic plan, and I don't want to lay that down until you've had time to totally voice your observation of it. But after going through that, it just seems to me it addressed. Now, it didn't get into a lot of the real, granular stuff, but it addressed it in such a way that anybody can look at it and read it, understand it from a financial perspective, even to the boots on the ground perspective.
That's right.
How can we, when I say we collectively as our listeners and myself and others, help keep that plan in front of folks so they can say, look, we're still here?
Yeah, I think these are great discussions, right, about the strategic plan. And I think it's an opportunity. And when we've treated the strategic plan and worked very closely with the chamber and Ray Starling on the strategic plan to make sure that we again identified ways that would make NC State better, right? If we're going to keep agriculture as the number one industry in the state, there are actions that we need to take in order to kind of make sure that happens. And we have a vision in our strategic plan, and my priority as dean that we make sure that NC State is at the center of that hub of development and moving the ag community forward. We want to be kind of a champion for agriculture and life sciences throughout the state. And we believe that we're at NC State really the connector point between all the pieces in the state of North Carolina. We're excited because it does identify some opportunities for us again to think about ways that we can take the next step at NC State in the College of Ag and Life Sciences, and it doesn't help that it also supports a lot of the initiatives that we're doing. Right, another big priority for me as dean is workforce development. We talked about it with the 4-H and FFA kids, moving them into agriculture, letting them see that there are opportunities in agriculture. We have a significant workforce and ag industry in the state that we need to continue to produce graduates. And what's exciting for us at NC State is that we're doing that across the board. It doesn't matter whether you're in our 2-year Ag Institute program or our 4-year undergraduate program, our graduate programs. When you graduate out of those programs, you are going to graduate from a program where there's a high demand for you to go into an industry that's going to make a significant impact on the lives of people. So that workforce development angle is really important for us. We were very proud to see in the report that when we talk about how is agriculture going to remain prominent, how is it going to remain as relevant, 10 years as it is today, that NC Cooperative Extension and NC State Extension have to be the foundation of that, right, structure. Again, we have a presence in every single county in the state of North Carolina through our Cooperative Extension service. It is a fantastic service. Are there ways that we can get better? Absolutely. And we're going to look at ways that we can look at structurally, how are we doing things? We're going to look at things with regard to, positions that are in certain counties and things like that. And then how can we structure to support the ag industry even more moving forward within Cooperative Extension? So we were excited, and I think it's a plan like we talked about that's not going to sit on the shelf and get dust. We've already started working. We have a new associate dean for extension in the College of Ag and Life Sciences, Dr. David Monks. New position. New hire. So replacing Dr. Rich Bonanno. Dr. Bonanno helped us to lay that foundation, but Dr. Monks is really the perfect candidate to kind of take us to that next level because he's got all those connection points with our commodity groups. He's got all those connection points with producers across the state that we're really excited about where we're going to take extension. You laid out an interesting conversation, extension. Yes. So let's focus on that just for a moment. Absolutely. So we're looking at extension throughout the state. Yeah. Where do you do you have a vision? Right. For how, and I'm going to use the word tweaked. Yes. Which implies something small, but it may be something big. So I'm thinking, you know where I'm going. I know where you're going. So kind of tell us how you see that unfolding so it can be more empowering to the communities, more empowering to the system itself. That's right. I think that would be a great opportunity right now to just say, look, here's what we're not talking about doing away with extension. No. We're talking about building it and making it even better. That's right. And I think extension is a very interesting it's a very interesting organization and structure because I did a tour of all of the extension offices this summer, Expedition Extension, visited all 100 counties in the state, every single office. And what was really interesting was, some of our extension offices are located 20 miles from each other. And somebody might say, wow, 20 miles from each other. Well, you could just combine those two extension offices. They do the same activities. But when you look and you go 20 miles between two extension offices, they will have very different focus areas, right? And for a state like North Carolina, that has a number of people moving into the state, right? We're losing land, we're urbanizing. There are some opportunities for us to say, yes, and how does that play into agriculture moving forward? And so one of the things that we're really going to be looking at is programmatically, how is extension structured? And there are ways that we can programmatically support the counties that may have specific types of support that they need for their ag industry. Mm-hmm. The support that Johnston County or Sampson County would have versus Mecklenburg or Wake is going to look different, right? And so one of the things that we have to think about is, how are we making sure that we provide the support? How are we making sure that we provide the leadership to allow those counties to adapt in the ways that they need to adapt? Again, I'm all focused on agriculture, right? And I think one of the things that we've talked a lot about is, extension's not, you can say extension is agriculture and it might be field crops and livestock, but it's also nutrition. It's also health. It's also well-being. It's the whole farm to table concept that is really so important for us to continue to help support.
One of the things that struck me, and as you were talking, I've reflected back on it, and I want to read this quote.
Yeah.
And it's talking about extension. And it says the county support that we get for extension is so critical for what we do and we want to be able to do, said you. Mm-hmm. And it says, what happens at the ground level is the engine of our college. That's right. It's the engine of our university.
That's right.
I thought that was a powerful quote.
It is.
You were basically saying, if this ain't working,
that's right,
we got a problem. We're not moving forward.
That's right.
If this is not working.
That's right.
Because the engine typically moves you forward. It makes something happen.
You better believe it.
So I had to somehow plug that quote in. It's to me, it's like saying, Ag, we know you're there. Ag, we know the importance that you have.
That's right.
And the University, North Carolina State University, is really on top of this. That's and even to the point that you shared with me earlier, that the chancellor himself went with you on this expedition, this extension expedition program throughout North Carolina.
That's right.
No wonder you didn't call me back when I called you.
Yeah, it was hard to schedule us over the last, we just completed it here between July and September, but we did have the chancellor with us for 2 full days of extension visits. It's very rare for the dean to go visit an extension office and sit down with the staff. It's even rare, if ever occurred, that a chancellor was in the extension offices. And we didn't take them to Wake and Durham and, the local counties right there next to NC State. He was in Granville and Warren and Vance and Franklin and Martin and Pitt and Greene and Wayne counties, right? And so he got to see the full extent of many of our counties, both tier 1 counties all the way to tier 3 counties. He got to see how extension was functioning. And I think that's, the thing about the engine is the fact that, you got to get outside of Raleigh to understand how agriculture in the state of North Carolina works.
Absolutely.
And the engine that's operating is not in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so it's been a major priority for me to make sure that I am getting out and that I am visiting as extension offices, our research station network that we have with 22 research stations, to go visit producers, to go to community events, to go to things like that so that I can understand and have a finger and a pulse on what's happening within agriculture in the state of North Carolina. The engine is correct. The engine is on the ground level of the institution. And I think one of the things that we are really pushing in the College of Ag and Life Sciences is for us to reconsider how we are administratively structured so we can make sure that we get the resources pushed down to the engine, right? There are challenges that we have in extension. One of the things is Dr. Monks likes to tell people, a very large percentage, I think it's 70%, 50 to 70% of our extension agents have less than 5 years of experience. And in a lot of cases, there's a lot of turnover with our extension agents. And a lot of that is due to the fact that we are one of the lowest paying extension services in the southeastern part of the United States. That's a problem.
These are our specialists, our technical experts.
These are the agents that are on the ground, right? Yeah. That are, I think the great thing about extension is this idea of a cycle. It's a circle, right? And so the agent that's on the ground working with our farmers and producers, they may not have all of the answers. They're going to have a bunch of them because there's some really great agents that are out there. But that's your connection point back to the specialists that are doing the research projects that we need to be doing. And if it's a circle where it's coming from the specialist to the agent, back to the researcher, back to the agent, if we're having a lot of turnover in one part of that piece of that circle, it gets hard to get all the way around that circle.
Absolutely.
And so one of the gaps that we're going to have to work on, and one of the gaps that was really, I think, identified as part of Ag Leads and really was maybe not specifically called out in ag leads, but is one of those factors that we've started to track very closely, are things that we're going to have to work on. And that's why that strategic plan for us is a strategic plan that's going to help move us forward.
I often tell folks that it's very important that they understand that we have a research station here in Clinton on 403. And we've actually been out there and filmed some years ago when we had a group touring through from other countries.
That's right.
To look at how our system was set up. Now, this has been probably a decade or more ago.
That's right.
And I was just astounded because they were looking at us from countries that I couldn't even pronounce the names.
That's right.
These folks couldn't even speak English, but they were looking at how that thing that you just talked about, that wheel works. How does that thing make things better? And I think that speaks a lot for where we are.
Honestly, that's the separator, right? So when we visit with, international delegations or things like that, the separator that we have that they don't have is the idea of the extension service that makes up the land grant mission, right? I think universities right now are a little bit, and science in general is a little bit under attack a little bit. I think the future of university systems is a land grant model, and land grants are very well positioned to get through this and to be at the forefront of how we're going to move universities forward. Because of that extension service, those international delegations, they don't have that service that's set up. They don't have the research stations. NC State's motto is think and do, right? And we like to say, we have to do both. And we want to think, right? We want to hire really great people that are thinking and pushing the boundaries and doing foundational research. But we've got to also integrate that into the do part. And that's where this extension network that we have, it's our research station network. North Carolina is so lucky to have the research stations that we have, right? 18 research stations and 4 field labs, so 22 total, spread out across the entire state of North Carolina, jointly operated between NC State University and the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. And to this day, it works so well that to this day, if we go out to Clinton, if you walk on that research station, I guarantee you'll have a hard time knowing, is this one owned by NC State or is this one owned by the North Carolina Department of Agriculture? And when that's a true partnership and a true relationship, that's beautiful. But that network of research stations allows our agents that are working in extension to work with our research specialists, to work with our extension specialists, to work with other researchers on campus. And it creates a system for us to be able to address the critical problems in agriculture moving forward. And there's huge numbers of examples of where that's been done.
I think the big thing with this, and as we come back, maybe we can get into a little bit more, is this, I'll use the word land. Where are we going as land?
Yeah.
Some years ago, I had Steve Troxler on, and that was one of his big issues.
Yes.
We don't need to consume farmland. We got to have farmland.
That's right.
So I want to talk about that when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're talking with Dean Garey Fox, North Carolina State University. We'll be back in a moment.
How can your friend save you money? It's easy. Refer a relative, coworker, neighbor, or friend to Star Communications. Friend signs up for high-speed internet service. Friend's new account is confirmed. Friend gives your name to our service representative as the one who referred them to Star. You receive a $30 internet credit. It's just that simple. And even better, receive a $30 internet credit for every referral that results in a new confirmed account. High-speed internet from Star Communications. Refer a friend today.
Providing less, you froze up. And more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
Since our inception, we have distributed in food and supplies over $3 million worth out of Salemburg, North Carolina. And people always ask us, what can we do to help. So Norman has got some little slide cards here so we can tell you what we do need and maybe, as importantly, what we don't need.
Absolutely.
So, what we do need is soup, canned soup, ramen. What we do not need is hair tonic or hairspray. There's only one of us that uses hair tonic, and he has an ample supply. But we do need rice. We distribute rice every month. Bag rice, box rice, yellow rice, white rice, don't make any difference. We need rice all the time. What we don't need is live pigs. If you want to have that pig ready to barbecue, we can use that. But we do need canned vegetables. We'll take corn, beans, any kind of canned vegetables. We distribute about 2,000 cans of vegetables every month. What we don't need is chia pets. Sometimes early in the morning, Norman looks like a chia pet, so we don't need, particularly before he puts his hair tonic on. But we do need peanut butter and jelly. There's a lot of children at home. We use peanut butter and jelly, again, 12 months out of the year. Any size jar, any flavored jelly, grape, apple, it don't make any difference. We'll take any of it. We do not need sushi. The fish around here says, please cook me in lard. We don't need sushi. But we do need Pop-Tarts. Children at home, they eat Pop-Tarts. We need Pop-Tarts all the time. We do not need used tires. That may come as a surprise to some folks, but Norman has decided to bring his used tires around his belly. That's where he hauls his all the time. Send checks to the Christian Food Bank of Salemburg, P.O. Box 134, Salemburg, North Carolina, 28385. And Norman has a little note there that says cash is as good as money. So that's how you can help us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. J.W. Simmons here, your host. We're coming to you on Star Communications TV, Channel 16, WCLN Radio out of Clinton. We are pleased to have with us today Dean Garey Fox, North Carolina State University. Dean, again, thank you for coming out to the rural landscape and sitting down talking with us. We've got so much on our plate. We're going to try to get as many ideas and understanding out. Right. I want to start with something, and I want to start kind of move mine down a little bit and pick up on this one because we've mentioned it a couple of times, and it's called Wolfpack Connect. Let's talk about that and how this particular new plan, in fact, from what I can understand, I read a little bit about it, but this is something so new, it might be breaking news this morning. So we'll start with that.
It might be. I think we heard yesterday that we've got all 58 of our community colleges that have signed on to this program. Wolfpack Connect is a new guaranteed admission opportunity for students in the state of North Carolina. They would start at a community college, and if they get their associate's degree, complete 30 hours, and have a 3.0 GPA, they would get guaranteed admission to NC State. Seamless transition. We are very likely going to hire a transfer coordinator at NC State and the College of Ag and Life Sciences just to help with this. This is not for all of our degree programs across the board, but it's for many of our, what I would say, high demand majors and high demand programs, several of those in agriculture. And so the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences is helping the admissions office. We are one of the 2 or 3 colleges that are kind of leading the effort with regard to the new Wolfpack Connect program. We're super excited. So, students that, NC State is not an easy place to get into anymore, right? So 6,000 slots for first year students. This past year, we had 50,000 applications. And so we have been trying to knock the door down to try to figure out where are there's other opportunities for access. Right. So the rural students can get in. And this is one of those really great opportunities for us. You'll see significant growth in the number of transfer students that are coming into NC State. And in the College of Ag and Life Sciences, we want to be right there at the front of that.
I think it's a great program, and coming from the North Carolina Community College system, I certainly understand how critically important that is. Yes. The other thing it says to me, as this particular program finds its message out there, I think you're going to have a lot of people that go, wow, what did he just say? I can get in to NC State. And as a graduate of NC State, I can tell you, even back then, it was kind of hard to get in. But now, if the door's open and it's seamless, and the community colleges they're almost I don't know, but they're begging people to come in, look at trades, look at things that typically people would say, nah, I want to get that liberal arts degree.
That's right.
But if you want to make money, if you want to find something that's a personal impact in your life, what you're talking about is that.
And ties very closely back to NC Ag Leads, right? A major part of NC Ag Leads was how do we build this ag tech ecosystem, right? Absolutely. And we see a lot of young students that are involved in FFA and 4-H, many students that aren't involved in 4-H and FFA. There's a role that you can play putting technology into agriculture. And in many cases, that's going to be the gap that's going to help solve many of the problems that we have with regard to challenges for North Carolina agriculture. Loss of land, right? More people moving in, we're losing farmland. If we're going to lose farmland, we're going to have to get we're going to have to get technology integrated into this to figure out how we take kind of the next step with regard to yield and production and growth of animals and feed conversion ratios. This is a perfect opportunity for young people, right? Our young people are more embedded in technology today than they ever have been. That trend will continue. This is a wonderful opportunity to come to NC State. You can use that technology into agriculture, and you can again help society by providing them with the feed, the fiber, and the fuel that they're going to need.
It's all about innovation and vision.
It is.
And I think when we come down to that, I look at it and I think folks that you know and I know that maybe has never put a foot on a piece of farmland, they're really their idea is, and where they're feeling this is like, my eggs gone up, my loaf of bread has gone up, whatever it may be. But the reality is it starts with exactly what we're talking about today.
It does.
It all starts with the foundation. If that's not working,
that's right,
nothing's going to be working, whether it's the price of beef or whatever it may be.
That's right.
You can always trace that back. And if the farmer is not successful, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes,
right,
the success of farming today.
Yes.
If they're not successful, then that's kind of a fundamental part of the foundation. Would you agree with that?
100%, right? And one of the things that has been very curious is I think we've seen more students that haven't had that opportunity to step on a farm or to even be involved in farming at all, that are now seeing that as a major challenge for us and something, again, that they can make a major difference in society. And I think so we're seeing a lot of people that are moving into agriculture and pursuing agricultural degrees that have never been involved in agriculture before. And they're seeing this really great technology that's starting to get integrated, right? And so Ag Leads talks about that in the strategic plan. How do we create ag tech? How do we use the research stations as innovation hubs? That's one of the things that we want to do. Yeah. We talked about the research stations previously. We want to take those research stations to kind of the next level, right? And to show what the future of farming looks like. And so we've got some ideas behind that. But the technology that we are doing and the innovation that we're leading at NC State puts us on a platform that just is going to move us forward substantially, right? So incredible support from the ag industry to build the plant sciences initiative and the plant sciences building recently. We're starting to see technology come out of that building. We're starting to see the use of technology that is in that building play a major role. We just launched a brand new what is going to be referred to as the Genome Editing Center for Plant Sciences at NC State. It'll be housed in the Plant Sciences building. This is a new technology that's looking at, not really a new technology. We've got some people on campus already that were doing this, but we have elevated our efforts with regard to this idea of gene editing crops and ornamentals and things like that. And so using CRISPR-Cas technology, it's not a GMO. It's not a genetically modified organism. What you end up doing is it's almost the equivalent of plant breeding, doing different crosses and growing and selecting the best one and then breeding again. That process can sometimes take a decade to occur.
Sure.
Potentially with gene editing, we might be down to a 2 or 3 year window of releasing new varieties. So things like, number one sweet potato producing state in the United States. Major issue with sweet potatoes right now on the guava root knot nematode. We've got a lot of incredible work that's going on right now already, looking at management practices and cultural practices and even some original plant breeding. Our new director of the Genome Editing Center is going to come in and look at can we put the resistance to the guava root knot nematode into the sweet potato plant. Right. And again,
from the beginning. So you've got it.
So you've got it. Right. So you identify basically what happens is you take the DNA structure. You identify where in the DNA structure is a certain trait getting exhibited, And then you go in with an enzyme and you can clip it and put it back together in a way that that trait will get exhibited. Again, there's no foreign material being introduced, so it's not GMO. You're just making sure that the certain trait that you want to be established or to come out is coming out within that process. And so it's got applications across the board. If you're a blueberry producer and you want a blueberry with higher antioxidant
we love
levels,
blueberries.
We love blueberries in the state of North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
The Genome Editing Center could potentially look at some things like that. We've got ideas around, even the Christmas tree industry, very important industry in the state of North Carolina. Very proud of what we're doing there. We could potentially genome edit a Christmas tree so the needles stay on longer, or maybe it becomes more fire resistant. The possibilities are amazing when you start looking at this new system and the use of this technology. And our new director, Dr. Tim Kelleher, was from Syngenta and was working for a long time on kind of the big Midwestern crops. And now he's going to move over and do a lot of the variety of products that we grow in North Carolina. So we're super excited about how that's going to take, I think, the Plant Sciences Initiative and the Plant Sciences Building to even a higher level. We've got a new food animal initiative that we're launching in the college, again, focused on technology and innovation. The food animal space for us, if the ag industry in North Carolina is $100 billion, 70% of that is related to food animal production. And we're looking for ways, how can NC State play an even more prominent role within that space? One of the things that we identified is we just recently worked with the egg growers in the state, and we are going to create really the first ever, and we're going to call it the National Egg Science and Technology. So NEST or NEST lab. And it's basically going to be a facility that's going to look at using state-of-the-art technology on how we inspect and grade and sort eggs so that we can train USDA inspectors, we can train the industry that might be running that equipment, and we can even train our new students in that. And so we'll be creating the NEST lab as part of the Food Animal Initiative. We've invested heavily in this idea of artificial intelligence in agriculture. Right? AI is something that
I'm so glad you went there.
It is not going to go away. Okay. It is not going to replace us. I tell people I've never seen an AI platform that's been able to grow an apple before. And I love our apple producers in the western part of our state, but it is going to change the way that we're working and the way that we're analyzing data and the way we're looking at trends and the way that we're putting models together to predict the environment. But we have invested. We've got 2 faculty members that will be teaching our first applied artificial intelligence and agriculture classes this spring. And my goal is that every one of our undergraduate students will graduate with at least the opportunity to take an applied artificial intelligence class.
It's amazing when you just open that door. I had a note I wanted to talk about artificial intelligence ag, because one of the things that strikes me with that is it's growing so rapidly.
It is.
And the demand for it. There's a couple of books out. And I was looking at one in education, which is kind of what my background is. And it was talking about, and this was back 6 months ago, how artificial intelligence is already going to be. It's not going anywhere. And it was also talking about its application in the classroom, its application in adult education, which is where I grew up with. And the thing is, with artificial intelligence, I think it's got a bad taste in the beginning. But now folks are starting to realize it's faster. And it also gives me some vision that maybe I didn't have, because it's compiling so much data and information. There's no way the human brain could do it. Is that true?
That is true. And I think that you still have to have those critical thinking skills that come along with that, because it's a tool, right? It's just it's just like when the calculator came out, right? And then all of a sudden now I can do this calculation much faster than I could do it on a piece of paper. The issue is you still have to know, when you put it in the calculator, the answer that you get out, does this answer make sense? Right. And I think with some AI platforms, it can what we call hallucinate. It can give you answers that aren't necessarily the right thing. That it's going to change the way, for example, even within, we talked about extension. How are our agents going to start operating? Because it's largely that when they get a call about an issue, it's likely that landowner or that producer may have already used an AI platform to try to figure out what the problem is. And now they're a little bit more advanced coming to the agent with regard to what that question is going to look like. And we may have to train our agents a little bit differently in terms of how they take that information in and knowing what information is coming to them.
And they may have a higher grade question than normal.
They may have a higher grade question, or they may have been led down a rabbit trail that's not exactly the right solution. And that agent's going to really need to know that happened in order to get them back out and get them back on the right track. We tell our agents, there's no way that an AI platform is not going to replace our agents. Our agents are critical for connecting it to the specialists. But knowing how individuals are using those AI platforms is really important. We are even developing AI platforms really more at the kind of the federal level, accumulating all of the things from all the land grant institutions. We can put platforms together that are only using information that was developed by our land grant institutions. So
specialty AI.
Like a specialty AI. And if we can get to the point where we can make sure that people understand the benefits of using that specialty AI platform, again, that's just based on sound research information. Again, with an agent checking to make sure that AI platform didn't do something, we can really move forward.
We're going to take our next break, coming up on the last part of the show. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. So we might have to go into overtime.
Rapid fire.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We'll be back in a moment, the last part of the show. I think it's something that you really need to kind of tag this show, either hit record. I'm sure you want to pass this on for other folks to look at. We'll be back in a moment.
At Fisher's, it's not just about fashion. It's about exceptional service. Experience top-notch customer care and find your perfect look. Visit Fisher's today and feel the difference. Looking to refresh your home? At Clinton Appliance and Furniture, we've got everything you need to create the perfect space. We're here to help make your house a home with stylish furniture, appliances, flooring, design services, delivery, and repair. Visit ClintonAppliance.com to explore our selection or visit us at 401 Northeast Boulevard in Clinton. Shop local. Shop smart. Shop Clinton Appliance and Furniture.
At the Reedy Mark, we take pride in a unique, distinguished customer experience. We specialize in handcrafted cocktails, allocated bourbons, as well as gourmet signature food items exclusive to our menu at the Reedy Mark in Roseboro.
The average American household has 17 devices connected to the internet. With more and more devices able to get online, you may need to increase your internet speed. Call Star Communications today and let us help you select the package that's right for you.
This segment of We Should Know is brought to you by the Sampson Independent.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. J.W. Simmons here. The last part of the show today, we're talking with Garey Fox, the Dean, North Carolina State University, of this whole school that we refer to up there. And I think when I look at it and I think about the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, it's something that we've known, but it becomes more and more daily an important critical factor. One little note I want to touch on here, and then we got a lot of things we want to talk about on this last part. But we've talked about the relationship between North Carolina State University Extension and the community college system. Yes. I think you're aware, and most folks are. It's interesting that we now have a relatively new chancellor at North Carolina State University. Also, we're also looking for a new president of the community college system in North Carolina. Is there a way that we could off camera figure out somebody that's got an ag background? No, only kids. So but it would be interesting to parlay that at this time to make sure at least those folks understand what's going on.
That's right. That's right.
When we get into ag, one of the big things today, and there's we just talked about AI and other industries, but one of the things that's impacting and it's really a little bit scary is farmers and the number of bankruptcies. I think it's as of yesterday, there was one report that said ag bankruptcies were up 57%. Yeah. I didn't ever think I would hear that as a reality, simply because in my world of think, we can't survive without ag. Yeah, we got to have food to eat.
Absolutely.
Especially when we got millions of people living in a rural landscape that knows nothing about how to grow a turnip, much less a sweet potato.
That's right. Oh, major challenge, right? I mean, it was, again, and when we traveled the state of North Carolina with Expedition Extension, had the opportunity to meet with a lot of the county managers and county commissioners that provide so much support. And that's a common part of what our discussion was, is with all of this uncertainty, everything that's happening, whether it's at the federal level or, the fact that we get hit with hurricanes and all this thing, it just makes, there's just so much uncertainty, right? And there's so many other factors that a farmer and a producer can't control. And so that's one of the reasons that NC State, that's, really our goal is to try to take out. Now we don't get to influence as many of those factors as we would like to, trade policies and stuff like that. But if anything that we can help from a College of Ag and Life Sciences standpoint to help take out some of that uncertainty and some of those uncontrollable factors, those are the things that we have to make sure that we're working on in the college.
When we look at new technologies and new industry, as of a year or so ago, I know there was one of our community colleges close by here that was growing vegetables in-house. Actually, there's a name for it, but it deals with just no dirt, it's water, and you feed it and the plant grows. And it's literally with electricity and
so hydroponics and aquaponics.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Is that a real future for ag? Is our world 10, 20 years from now going to see more and more of that as we lose ground to grow ag?
Yeah, I think it depends on where, at least in my opinion, I think it depends on where you are. And I think there's opportunities maybe in some urban areas and things like that where we would see some of that production that might be able to provide a small part of the food supply that we need. I still see the need for a very diverse and varied ag portfolio that we would have, much of which we have in North Carolina. But it's really gonna depend, I think, where you are and many of our urban areas and our extension programs that are in our urban counties are working on this, is how do we solve this idea that there are just some parts of those communities that have difficulty with access to food, and are there some innovative ways that we can provide that access? And aquaponics and hydroponics, I know there are a few areas where we're doing some large scale production. But I think it's an opportunity in different venues that
maybe specialty crops, but not all crops.
Yeah, probably specialty crops, but not all crops. I had the opportunity to tour the Biltmore and their ag programs, and they've got some aquaponics and hydroponics that are producing, I think, all of their leafy greens that they use at the Biltmore. And so is that an opportunity where you're taking some of that and using that for some of that production, and it could free up other opportunities for land that could go into other production. And when we look at this idea of urban expansion in the state, one of the not so crops that we saw across the state were solar panels, right? We saw a lot of fields that were filled with solar panels as we traveled across the state of North Carolina. We're going to have to be careful about how we do that and how we manage those landscapes. And what was really promising for me was to hear the county commissioners and the county managers say, yes, we know. Yes, we're working on this. And we've got NC State and NC State Extension very involved in what we're doing.
And I think the thing is, it's important, as you said, the local policymakers, because we're talking potential ordinances and other things to ensure that we have that landscape.
That's right. And the drivers are different in each of the counties, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's counties up in our northeastern part of the state. You can go to Currituck or Camden or some of those other counties where they're seeing a lot of people move in from Virginia that are kind of, living in North Carolina, but then driving across the border to work and then coming, and so, and they want to be involved in agriculture in some way, right? So they might buy 5 or 10 acres and then all of a sudden it's, hey, I'd like to grow something, or I'd like to raise this livestock. And it's even more important for us at NC State Extension, NC Cooperative Extension, to be there to help them understand, let's think about doing this. Let's not think about putting 200 head of beef cattle on this, because it's not going to work, right?
Exactly.
Let's talk about what is possible with the land that you have, and let's figure out if you are going to grow beyond just what you need as a family. If you want to have a product that's marketable, where's the market for it? And then how do you engage and get into that market?
The rural landscape, as far as application and growing and doing ag, has changed so rapidly since I was out there trying to do it some decades ago, until now the technology has not only taken over, but farmers are now becoming so astute technological advancement. They understand it. They see it from a financial perspective. Is there a stopping point on this, or is technology just going to continue to advance?
I think we're going to continue to see it advance. I was looking on social media just this morning, and they have, side-by-side plots of a soybean field that had, covered with weeds, and then one that had a robotic weeder that had gone through it. And this was almost fully developed soybean plant. I don't think it stops. I think it continues. And one of the things that, going back to NC Ag Leads, and one of the things has always been a big priority for me as a dean, and one of the ways that we're going to structurally look at extension a little bit differently, is the idea that we likely need some extension agents that are specifically working in this area of ag technology. And we're going to need to make sure that we geographically position them in different parts of the state so that they can address the diversity of what we're producing in the different parts of the state. So we're really talking about what does work look like on the coastal plain? What does it look like in the Piedmont? What does it look like up in the mountains? And where are these technology opportunities that exist in each of those?
This new model that you're thinking in terms of as it unfolds with extension offices, is one of the advantages of that being able to have the relationship of something that may work in the western part of the state, may work in the eastern part, it may not work there, but the different advantages that come to play, does that all work together? Is that going to be an advancement, or is that already working?
No, I think it's working in some regard, but I think with a change on the extension side, there's an opportunity for that advancement to become faster, right? Because a lot of the same, at the heart of the technology, a lot of the same types of the systems that we would be using if it's in an apple orchard, to have a drone that's spraying the apple orchard, or a robot that's going to go through and prune trees. Right. A lot of that same technology is the technology that we might be using in a sweet potato field, or in a soybean field, or a corn field, or a peanut field. So I think it's an opportunity for us to advance much quicker across the board in all of those. What's been really great for me is to see a lot of that really great technology, the heart of that technology that's starting to pop up through the work at the Plant Sciences Initiative, how that technology is going to continue to develop as we start again to try to move that technology out into the hands of the growers. But that technology is very much at the heart of what we're doing within PSI, and it's very much at the heart of what we want to do with the Food Animal Initiative as well.
One of the things that sometimes I'm trying to think, if I had some farmers sitting here, some of the key questions that is definitely bearing on them. Right. And I just want to hit a few of those and let you respond to them. Is the low crop prices, whether it's sweet potatoes, whether it's beans. We just saw what's happening with grain as it relates to exports to China. And unbelievable. We're talking billions, if not millions and billions of dollars. That's right. What do you say to that when you look at that and farmers are saying, are you helping us answer this question?
Yeah. I mean, I think what we're trying to do is help as much as we can, right? We also have those external drivers on us, the political climate that we're in that influences us just as much, right? In fact, we're advocating for agriculture and farmers in the state of North Carolina every time we go to DC or we go to the General Assembly. We mention these challenges, right? And they are at the heart of what makes agriculture difficult right now. Well,
I think it gets back to the importance of having folks like Secretary Rollins and others that really understand it and are listening, to folks. I think she met the other day with a number of cattle growers. That's right. To talk about importing Venezuelan beef. Yeah, that's right. Wait a minute, Yes. But she explained it in such a way that, from what she was saying, is 70% of the beef that is actually available, is from this country. Yes. There's about a 20% factor there that could be brought in. But then the beef folks will say, wait a minute, we can increase that.
That's right. That's right.
You're from Texas, you get that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we would love to increase that. And I'm sure Texas would absolutely as well. Yeah, I think it's just, there are absolutely 100% challenges out there, and we hear them, right? And We're going to do everything that we can control to try to continue to move it forward. You know, I call myself kind of an agricultural optimist.
Yeah.
Right. That I think we have to continue at NC State to continue to push the envelope and move the envelope forward so that when we get through some of these other hurdles and hopefully have a better climate, you know, better tariff situation, whatever it might be that's causing us issues right now, that NC State is still at that point and we're pushing the envelope to move us continually forward, right? And to be even more competitive within the global market.
Well, we're coming up on the closing here, but I want to just say this. It just seems to me if we have you in the right position at North Carolina State University, you are going to be one of the biggest advocates for 100%. Ag that we could use, both in the college, both in the sense of development, but even more importantly, into that kind of murky world that we call politics.
Right.
And we call, you know, that because ultimately that's where a lot of these decisions are going to be made in that political arena. So we can't just walk away from it. We got to have that advocacy.
We do, right? And it's we have to make sure that we're not shying away from that, right? I mean, there's a line that we have to be careful about, but I think at the same time, I think it's about advocating for agriculture in general. Right. And when we go to Washington, D.C., or we go to the General Assembly and meet with our leadership, it's not just that we're advocating for North Carolina State. We're advocating for our farmers and our producers in the state of North Carolina.
Listen, I want to thank you for being here today and taking time.
My
I know
pleasure.
You're a busy guy.
My pleasure.
Speaking to the farmers, speaking to the folks on the rural landscape is critically important.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here. We look forward to having you back, and we'll keep that seat right there for you when you make it back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We look forward to seeing you again next week right here. And as always, may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.